Hey everyone, Scapegoat Stephen back with another Marvel Crisis Protocol report. So today you can see we have Guardians of the Galaxy on the left, played by myself, versus Cabal on the right of the screen, played by my opponent. So it should be noted that this game took place before the change to Follow Me becoming restricted, although it doesn't have any bearing on this particular game. So let's get into the lists and see what the rosters are. So this is my first sort of more modern Guardians roster, running Star-Lord, Drax the Destroyer, Gamora, Groot, Nebula, Rocket, Black Swan with the Power Gem, Hulk and Winter Soldier. So obviously those last three are my Splash affiliation models. All three of them in theory should hopefully speak for themselves. They are sort of either punchy power pieces or in the case of Winter Soldier like a support piece. This is my first time actually using Black Swan with the power gem. I know she got talked about a lot sort of early when she was, revealed about how she'd be really good. She's okay, perhaps not the best demonstration of what she does in a game, as you'll see moving forwards. That's a little bit of a spoiler about who I use. We've got tactics cards, brace for impact, deadly duo, fallback, lovable misfits, mark for death, mission objective, no matter the cost, patch up, warpath, we Are Groot. Now, again, those are sort of my first inkling, my first thoughts about what to take. Now, sort of elephant, or should I say tiger in the room, is that currently I don't own Malekith, and I do feel that actually he probably is a good fit in Guardians for the re-rolls. So I would maybe slot him in if you're looking at a pure competitive game. Then I would probably put Malekith in. If you're looking at a roster for an event, probably not if I'm doing a more casual game, because it's Malekith and no one wants to see that in a casual game. But if I owned him, he would definitely be in there for a competitive roster, and I'd probably drop Lovable Misfits for Midnight Phantasmagoria because it's good. Right, let's go take a look at the Cabal list. So this Cabal roster may look very familiar to anyone who's watched a previous few of my videos. So it's the same opponent, this time running it under Cabal. I enthused about how interesting the roster was. It's got, I think, 4 affiliations it can run in a previous video, so I won't bore you with repeating myself. But we've got Malekith, Captain America Steve Rogers, Doctor Strange with the Soul Gem, Groot Groot Hulk, Loki with the Mind Gem, Rocket Raccoon, Star-Lord, Thanos with the Space Gem and Winter Soldier. And tactics cards, you've got Avengers Assemble, Deadly Duo, Face Me, Follow Me, Gamma Launch, Indomitable, Midnight Phantasmagoria, Pentagram of that thing, Smash, and We Are Groot. Check out one of my previous videos where I think it was actually my last video with Avengers, where I discussed this list and actually how much I quite liked the fact of how good it was in a competitive sense. Like, it's got all of the like I said, the 4 different, I believe, lists it can run. Winter Soldier obviously unlocks so many of those little bits and pieces with his rogue agent ability. But check it out. Let's see how the game goes. Let's get into the lists, see what we ended up playing each other, and what crises we ended up. So, 18 threat, Gamma Wave sweeps across Midwest, and Fear grips world as worthy terrorized cities, otherwise known as hammers. So I went a little bit wide. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I like to run wide with the sort of swarm-esque teams. We've got Star-Lord, Black Swan with the Power Gem, Groot, Nebula, Rocket Raccoon, and Winter Soldier. With Brace for Impact, Deadly Duo, Mission Objective, no matter the cost, and We Are Groot. My opponent went real tall with Malekith, Hulk, and Loki with the Mind Gem. Follow Me, Gamma Launch, Midnight Phantasmagoria, no matter the cost, and Smash. Now, I think the thought process here was, obviously I didn't know exactly who he was going to bring out, but obviously Malekith at this point was reasonably new. He'd only just assembled the model. It's now painted, actually. It isn't in this video, but it is in future games that my opponent has played. And I'm always unsure as to how to tackle Malekith still. Do you go super wide, because he's going to pretty much daze a person with every single attack, especially if you go wide. I've got re-rolls to offset that with Star-Lord due to his leadership, which is only going to help defensively. It's not going to help offensively against anyone other than Hulk and Loki, because obviously Malekith shuts down those re-rolls. But if defensively they can help, then maybe it keeps some power pieces alive. Black Swan's got good range. She's got the ability to incinerate an opponent. She's got a size unrestricted throw, I believe. So yeah, she's got loads of really good elements to her, which actually could work against Hulk as well as Malekith. Only she'd actually get to re-roll against Hulk. So yeah, it's again, Nebula has re-rolls, but not against Malekith. Rocket and Groot are obviously just two really great. Winter Soldier's again another good model. Star-Lord's, the leader of the Guardians and only a 3 threat. So all really good. Obviously, brace for impact, stop some good throws, deadly duo, mission objective. No matter the cost is actually, well, you'll see it in round 1 actually of this game of how I utilised it, and We Are Groot's obviously a good healing card. Opponent had Follow Me, which is a really strong card. If anyone's doubting how powerful Malekith is, if you just watch this game, the combination of Follow Me and Midnight Phantasmagoria and Gamma Launch are actually real good in this Cabal list. In fact, all 5 of his tactics cards are real good choices. So let's jump into the game and see how round 1 goes. So obviously deployed Black Swan and then Malekith directly opposite each other. We've then got Nebula, Hulk, Groot, Loki, and then I'm going to whack Winter Soldier, no, Star-Lord, sorry, there, Rocket and Winter Soldier like that. So I do have priority here, and I am wide, so my first aim is to try and obviously scoop up a bunch of hammers, and then I can potentially just throw characters onto objectives. Obviously not Nebula, but other characters as and when required. So Star-Lord's just going to go for a bit of a fly and snap up that hammer on my first activation. That's him done. Apologies, we realised afterwards that maybe filming with this giant size 5 building there was perhaps not the best place to have put it, but we were trying to change the map up from a previous game that we'd had. We decided to keep it in the end because size 5 is a pretty interesting terrain piece to have, and it's a nice looking piece of terrain. So my opponent's trying to figure out who does he go with. Does he go for that hammer at the top, which you just see poking out from behind that blue coffee stand or Daily Bugle stand even. So there's a little bit of a discussion back and forth about who he activates, who he goes with, where he puts them. Does he just send Hulk straight up the middle? But in the end, he decides to go for his Hail Mary style play that he has been sort of messing about with recently. So what we should have done is measured where this piece of scenery was before we started moving it around. So in the end, we put the dice there to try and get an idea. Basically, Hulk is going to throw Malekith with Gamma Launch. On that note, why is Gamma Launch not actually just a throw? Why is it a place? So there, yeah, that's where Malekith is now, and then he is going to move up twice, but I think only just so he's still triggering his back Gamma. I'm then going to go Winter Soldier and see an opportunity to grab that hammer on the far side, so I do so. Again, after a bit of a double move. My opponent, I thought, apparently quite foolishly, that my opponent might use Malekith here to take on and basically just daze Star-Lord straight away and just take his hammer, or go across and do a similar thing to Winter Soldier on the other side. My understanding, obviously, at that point of Malekith was not as good as it is now, but instead he goes for a move to here, and then he's going to charge, and I believe Groot is his charge target, and he's going to plonk himself basically on my Gamma / hammer, which is not great. So he thankfully only gets 5 damage into Groot. I say only. And then he does throw Groot into Nebula, but I do brace turn 1 with both those characters, just so that Nebula doesn't get taken out. And then obviously Groot takes more damage. So he's then going to play Midnight Phantasmagoria on my deployment line on 4 models. not great. We do realise, sorry, at this point that it's a push away on Midnight Phantasmagoria. So Groot is just in where he should be able to go. But yeah, ugh, that's horrible for what, the second activation he's done on his turn. So I'm going to go with Black Swan. Again, a lot of deliberation now about, well, he's got my backgammon and my hammer, which, sorry, he also picked up. So where do I go from here? Obviously, Loki's not going to have a huge impact on the game at this point. But I need to do something about Malekith. So Black Swan is going to go. She's going to pay 3, or take 3 damage, sorry, from no matter the cost to play everything dies after she charges Malekith. So obviously gets back onto my objective as well. So she does 4 damage, but unfortunately doesn't get the throw, which is a shame because I could have done with just bumping him into some terrain and destroying the terrain slash, doing a bit of extra damage to him. But we do get the Eye Beam, which does a follow-up 2 damage and incinerate to him. So, quite reasonable. Obviously, he's spending power to do all of his reroll schools nonsense at this point. She's then going to strike him. So she has incinerated him as well, bear that in mind. She's then just going to do her standard strike into him, which unfortunately does no damage, just nothing. So Loki's going to go. He is going to move, pick up the hammer that's on top of their home hammer, and then he's going to move on to the central objective, again, just to get a bit of scoring in early doors whilst I am distracted and miles away from being able to do anything. So Groot's going to advance, or walk, sorry, and then he's just going to punch Malekith. He does no damage, disappointingly, and he's then going to play We Are Groot, which heals himself and Black Swan. So obviously Black Swan's taken that damage from no matter the cost. He's then going to pay to just heal himself with his standard healing ability on his card, so he's back to full health. Nebula's going to go next, because this is all me now, because my opponent's only got 3 cards. She's going to move long to there. She's behind the building, and she's going to attack Malekith and do 1 damage and shock. So not amazing, but not terrible. Rocket is in range to do 2 shots into Malekith, so does 1 damage and then shoots again and does 2 damage. And basically, after all the defensive rerolls and everything, Malekith ends up on 1 health. So if I got that throw with Black Swan and could have thrown him into a bit of scenery, then he would have been dazed. I would have got the hammer, and obviously that would have made potentially made the rest of the game a little bit easier on me. But unfortunately, that is what it is. So we're going to end that turn. I've only got 2 hammers. My opponent has 2 hammers and 3 points from his home gamma and the central gamma. So yeah, not a great round 1 from me. A great, obviously, showing from how Malekith works in the gamma launch and Midnight Phantasmagoria nonsense that he can do on your deployment line on his second activation. Obviously, imagine if he had priority as well. That would have been like even more horrific. Although it may have changed what he did after I grabbed those 2 hammers. But being able to throw himself onto my home gamma almost daze Groot as well, and then just push all my characters away so I'm getting less attacks back into him. Really, really strong play. And I think because what happened was I'm only now contesting my home gamma, which is why I didn't score a point on it. My opponent will have priority now going into round 2. Obviously, pretty scary. As I've said before, Malekith's quite happily able to daze 2 characters with a hit, with each hit, like 1 with each action. And that's not assuming he does a horrible beam or anything like that. So let's see how round 2 goes. So yeah, Malekith is on 1 health, and my opponent has priority. Obviously, Loki and Thor are undamaged, and I believe Black Swan has got 1 damage on her. And obviously, I've got 3 characters sort of around my home gamma, just where Malekith wants them. So he is going to activate Malekith first. I don't think that was necessarily in contention. Obviously, shock, reasonably helpful in this particular instance, just to reduce Malekith's dice rolling, which is something. I think shock, incinerate, and stagger are probably the three conditions you really, really want to get on him if you can with your characters. So Malekith's going to go. He's going to use ferocity to do the charge and then attack. He is looking to attack Black Swan. What he's done is he's charge moved just a little bit, so he's out of range of Rocket's range 5. Oh, sorry, he did use Smash as well to destroy that size 3 building, which again, if I'd thrown him into the building, wouldn't have been a thing. So he then does 3 damage to Black Swan and throws her into Nebula, which obviously then does 1 damage to both of them because Nebula rolls pretty well. He then blood boils to do his beam into both of them. He does 3 damage to Nebula and dazes her, and enough damage to daze Black Swan as well. So yeah, good start for my opponent for that turn. Not great for me, obviously, but yeah, it's he is a 7 threat, model. And Smash really, really pumps him on the relevant turn. And it's a good turn to use Smash. He's on 1 health. He's shocked. So actually the Smash, without the Smash, actually, I don't think he would have dazed Black Swan, which wouldn't have been good for him because then Black Swan would have just gone probably and well, maybe gone and had Loki for breakfast. So Winter Soldier's going to go. He's going to go for a walk. I think my opponent was checking there about doing any moves off his leadership, which I think in the end he chooses not to do at this point. So Winter Soldier's going to walk round to there and he's going to declare Loki as a target to shoot at. Loki's going to play Trickster so that he moves out of range of Winter Soldier's attacks. So there you go, just there. So I obviously divert the attack into Hulk because I can't get to Malekith, disappointingly. We just do casual five damage and bleed into Hulk, just on that first shot. Just take off 1/4 of his health, and then we do get the rapid fire trigger, but sadly we only do 1 damage. Which is what it is, but never mind. 6 damage into Hulk from 1 attack. I'm not going to complain, given it was an incidental attack anyway. Does of course power him up a little bit, but we've got to start working on killing him, haven't we? So Loki's going to go next. He is going to again. There's a bit of discussion here about Groot's one of the only characters you can get to my home gamma currently. So unless Rocket double moves, which is obviously a waste of Rocket's output. Although it should be noted, a bunch of my characters took 1 damage from being outside of 2 of the gamma, Rocket and Winter Soldier and Star-Lord. So Loki's going to use illusions into Groot, and he does do 4 damage, but he doesn't get the move. So there's no worry about me going anywhere. He's then going to move himself onto my home gamma. So Star-Lord's going to go. He's going to move close enough to Loki that he can shoot Loki, because it turns out that Loki doesn't have enough power now to use his runaway ability. So he straight up dazes Loki. Like, he just goes absolutely mad on his dice rolls, and Loki ends up dazed in 1 shot, which is good for me. I'm not going to say no to that. Opponent's going to go with Hulk now, because it's obviously his only model left. He's the only real thing that Hulk can do currently is obviously go for the middle gamma, and there's a hammer on Winter Soldier. So obviously those are his scoring options. He's debating whether or not he just runs for my gamma, which I think would have been a mistake, because then I just can then just try and spread my characters out across the rest of the gammas, given I have 2 hammers and Loki's dazed, Malekith's on 1 health at this point. So we are having a discussion at the moment back and forth about what sort of his better options here are. So he's going to gamma leap, and then he's going to walk so that he's in range to pick up that kiosk and or attack Winter Soldier as he sort of deems necessary. So yeah, he's gamma leap to here. He will do a small move in just a second. Again, we're just discussing sort of what his best options here are. So yeah, he's then going to walk, so he's in range of both of those and in range to score that central gamma. He is then going to just strike Winter Soldier, and the first attack just dazes Winter Soldier. So he then drops the hammer he's holding, and everyone's favourite Hulk is just going to pick it up. Rocket's going to go. He's going to move. He's then going to deadly duo, and he's obviously first attack into Malekith and does nothing. And then the second attack into Hulk and does nothing. So yeah, really, really unfortunate there not to really have done anything. We're then going to shoot Hulk with our normal standard attack. And we're just going to get another 3 damage off on Hulk. So actually we've done 6, 9 damage now, 10 damage if you count the bleed that Hulk's taken as he went for a walk. So, not bad. Then Groot's going to go. He's going to strike Malekith and do nothing. He's going to strike Malekith again and daze him. He's going to pick up both the hammers that Malekith drops, and then he's going to heal himself for 3. That's the end of round 2. So, end of round 2, it's 3 points apiece that we score. I have 2 hammers and my home gamma. My opponent has also no. I have maybe I just have 3 hammers. Yeah, I should have 3 hammers, and I don't have my home gamma, sorry, because I wasn't able to move onto it. But no one has my home gamma, thankfully. So I just have 3 hammers and score 3 points, take me up to 5. My opponent has the central gamma and a hammer, so it scores him another 3, getting him up to 8. Obviously, at the moment, you've had Loki's been dazed, Malekith's been dazed eventually. Winter Soldier's been dazed, Black Swan's been dazed, Nebula has been dazed. So there's a lot of, again, my opponent still has priority. Malekith's obviously going to go and do some stuff. So we shall see how the next turn plays out. So round 3. As you see, I've got a lot of characters still around my own home gamma trying to play the defensive game into Malekith, not working as well as I'd hoped. Hulk has yet to join in, thankfully, but that may be about to change. So Malekith is obviously going to go first. There's not really much of there's no surprise there. He no longer has Incinerate on, which is not great. So he is going to Ferocity to get that charge with the free throw. And there's a bit of discussion about where he moves to, but he's going to eventually choose to move behind Groot because I've lined 4 characters up perfectly for a nice beam, although in all fairness some of that was him throwing Black Swan. But he's going to move to there, and he is going to Ferocity into Groot, doing enough damage to daze him, just straight up daze Groot, and throws him into Black Swan. Black Swan at this point only takes 1 damage, thankfully, which is something. So there you go, boop, throws him there, dazes Groot. So I'm going to mission objective one of the hammers from Groot onto Black Swan, because she's got the most chance of surviving at this point. And Malekith picks up the other hammer. He's going to use the leadership on Hulk, which obviously will heal Hulk 1 and get Hulk a nice little extra move. Which he's going to use to come join the fun, down this end of the table. So here we go with Hulk. Obviously, you know, it's only a small move. You've got a nice old big base, so off he comes. So Malekith is then going to blood boil, you know, all of my characters. So he's going to daze rocket straight away. He's going to put 3 damage into Nebula and 4 damage into Black Swan from this beam. You can angle it just so that it clips neither of his other 2 characters as well. So yeah, it did not go well. And then he's going to use Follow Me into Hulk. Now this is a pretty horrific combo at the moment, and in all honesty, it's one of the things I think that pushes Malekith well over the edge. Is the ease of being able to play Follow Me. I know there's some other things that you could look at to sort of mitigate some of his stuff, but honestly, I think the Follow Me combo into Hulk is probably a little bit too good. You know, and I don't think my concern is restricted isn't enough for Follow Me, but that's probably a discussion point for another time. Hulk is going to Thunderclap into Black Swan, KOing her. He's then going to use the leadership on Malekith. Winter Soldier shoots Hulk as a result, doing only 1 damage and no damage on the rapid fire attack. The Thunderclap, sorry, all the way back to the Thunderclap that was still going on, goes into Nebula and only does 1 damage into Nebula. So Black Swan, I'll remove the model in a minute, but obviously then Hulk has picked up the hammer. There we go. Hulk has picked up the hammer that Black Swan dropped. He's then going to Gamma Leap to here and pick up that car to, I think he's now out of range of Winter Soldier as well, being able to attack. You pick up the car next to him and throw it into Nebula and KO Nebula as well. So yeah, it's gone pretty well for old Hulk, especially because that was like 1 action. And he's then going to move away so that I can't get to him, basically. Star-Lord's going to go. He is going to start with just a basic move, because now I'm looking at points on the basis that Loki's the only one who's got left to activate, and I have both Winter Soldier and Star-Lord to go. You know, okay, I've only got 1 hammer on Star-Lord right now, but can I do a bit of damage and get to the middle gamma and back gamma? So Star-Lord's going to move to there. He is then going to do a full auto on Malekith. Actually doesn't. Oh, sorry, and does hit and run. And he doesn't do too badly actually. He gets 5 damage through on Malekith and chooses the slow condition. It's pretty good. He's then going to use that hit and run move to get to the central gamma. Loki's going to go. He's going to try and stop Winter Soldier from getting to sort of my home. His home gamma. So he's going to move. He's going to do his illusions attack versus Winter Soldier, and he is going to do 3 damage to Winter Soldier. And that is going to make him then walk away. I think he sends him back round behind the. Oh no, he doesn't do the damage. Sorry, I think he mind gems him. Sorry, the illusions fails, but he mind gems him to get him away. And then I'm just going to double move to my opponent's gamma with Winter Soldier. So again, it's high scoring, but I am losing on the attrition front right now. So let's see what the points have come. So 6 points apiece, real high scoring that turn. I've got my opponent's home gamma for 3, the central gamma for 2, and 1 hammer on Star-Lord for another 1, giving me 6. My opponent has 3 hammers and my home gamma for 6 as well. So it's really, really going neck and neck, but I am massively losing the attrition fight at this stage. And my opponent still has priority. So we shall see how round 4 goes. Right, so coming into round 4, and this is going to be the final round, and also a very quick one. What you can't see is Winter Soldier's hiding behind that size 5 building. Luckily, you can still just about see Star-Lord poking out. Winter Soldier is just at the maximum inch on the left-hand side of my opponent's gamma. So we're going to go with Malekith. He is going to Ferocity and charge Groot, and he does 5 damage into Groot, and obviously gets the throw off. And he is going to throw him into Rocket, which obviously doesn't do anything to Groot, to Rocket, sorry, because Rocket doesn't take collateral damage, but does do 1 damage on Groot. Then my opponent's got to decide which way does he blood boil. Does he blood boil Winter Soldier and Star-Lord, or does he blood boil Rocket and Groot? So he goes for Winter Soldier and Star-Lord because of the objectives I'm sat on, and he does manage to KO Winter Soldier on that blood boil, and he does daze Star-Lord on that blood boil as well. So it's a pretty horrible 1-2 combo there on those characters. He's then going to use the leadership. He obviously picks up the hammer that Star-Lord drops. He's then going to use the leadership to move Hulk. And when he gets there, we go. He's going to move Hulk there. So he's outside of 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with Groot. Groot is going to have a difficult choice here about does he attack or who does he attack. In the end, I'm going to choose to go against Hulk on the basis that I could stagger him because I'm using the We Are Groot attack. And we do stagger and we do throw Hulk, and we manage to throw him into Loki, and we KO Loki from the throw, and it takes Hulk's last point of health as he impacts Loki. So it takes both of them out, which was a little bit surprising, especially off that one attack. So Rocket's going to go. He's going to pick up both the hammers off Hulk, and he's going to Hadron Enforcer Malekith, and he's going to KO Malekith. I had another attack in the bag, I guess, that I could have used, but we'll have a quick discussion in the post-game wrap-up about sort of how all that occurred. Right. So 11-point KO win versus a 14 in favour of the Cabal. Obviously, the 14 points was higher, but the win from the KOs. What we realised looking back at the video was that I don't think Groot should have been able to take out Hulk. I think he should have been in range. In fact, he was almost certainly in range of Loki's no crit exploding ability, which we weren't aware of until, because again, I think I've played Loki once, and this is my opponent's first time using him. And we just forgot about it in the heat of the moment and the excitement. So I think what should have probably happened, realistically, is that Hulk should have been left on about 3 health, staggered, but 3 health, and should have been able to probably. I would have been surprised if he, even with only 1 attack, wouldn't have been able to daze or KO Rocket, and then would have obviously gone to probably a win because my opponent only needed 2 points. So he probably could have gamma looped, punched Rocket, although I could have taken it on Groot, but he could have thrown them away basically and scored my gamma either way. So I think my opponent probably should have won that game, but it was a quite fun and interesting final round out. Is Malekith with Follow Me into Hulk pretty good? Yes, it very much is. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about how good or bad or horrific Malekith is at this point. I think many people have spoken a lot more on the subject than I have, and probably with a lot more tactical insight and depth than I have. I'm just going to say I think he probably needs another little bit of a tweak, and maybe if Follow Me is that bad that they had to restrict it, maybe Follow Me should just go. Bin it off, whack it on the banned list. If it's causing problems, it's going to cause further problems with design space in the game. Just get rid of it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you again next time.